All right, it's 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Start off with some Zoom board meeting basics, if you would, please, Joe.
You got it. All right. Just kind of as a reminder, the guidance from the Kansas Attorney General let us know that, hold on one second. There we go. Let us know that virtual board meetings kind of have some very specific items we need to make sure that we're continuing to do. First of which is being that the Kansas Open Meetings Act is still in effect. So we are conducting our business in the public. It is available via live stream on YouTube. Members of the public must be able to listen or observe the meeting. Each speaker in the meeting will be clearly identified. So if we could go ahead and kind of go around the room. If I'm gonna just quickly just name off your name and let you know if you could let me know who you are. So Caleb, you're up first. Caleb.
Caleb McNally.
Joe Arb, are you there? I think he's still logging in. Mike Reagan. I think you'll need to unmute
Mike
yourself.
Reagan's here.
Perfect. Beth Weimer.
Present.
Perfect. Mark Lacey. Mark, you'll need to unmute yourself.
Mark Lacey is here.
Perfect. Jamie Sowers.
Jamie Sowers is here.
And Greg McCurdy.
Greg McCurdy, School Board President. At your service.
Perfect. All right. So,
Joe,
what
I
we
see
do.
that Joe Arb is on the screen.
Oh, that's right. Joe, could you identify yourself?
And he's muted.
I think you'll need to unmute yourself, Joe.
Yeah, Joe Arb's here. Sorry for being late. Tuesday, not Wednesday.
Not a problem. Not a problem. All right. So as we go through, we will go through and when we have a motion will be clearly stated by those that are putting that forward. Each vote tally will be clearly announced. Greg will go through that list there, starting with Joe and ending with Greg as to what the votes are. The procedure for executive session will be explained here at the outset of this meeting as guided by the Kansas Attorney General. When the board goes into executive session, the invited participants will be invited to a breakout session within this meeting. It will be separate from the main meeting. The live stream will continue. And once the executive session is up, the board and selected members will come back out of the meeting to the live stream and either continue on with the agenda or choose to go into executive session further. The agenda has been posted online, and all information at hand will be shared on screen as we go through it. And then the video of this meeting will be maintained on the district's YouTube account. So that will be held there. So that's what we have for reminders for virtual board meetings. Greg, she is yours.
Unbutton her, unmute. Family. If everybody please rise, and if you can face the board office, if you know where it's at from where you're at, and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the
United
States of America, and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, first time for everything. We didn't end together. All right, first thing off is approval of the agenda.
Let me pull up the agenda here real quick. There we go.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Have any deletions or additions?
I do not.
I, Mike Reagan, make a motion to accept the agenda as printed.
I, Beth Weimer, second it.
Motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Joe Orb, how do you vote?
Yay.
Mike Reagan, how do you vote?
Yay.
Caleb McNally,
Yay.
Beth Weimer,
Yay.
Mark Lacy,
Yay.
Jamie Stowers,
Yay.
and Greg McCurdy. That's 7-0 in approval. Wrong mouse. All right. Approval of the March 18th, 2020 minutes.
Joe Arp here. I move to approve the minutes from last meeting as presented.
Jamie Sowers, I will second that.
Motion and a second. Any other questions or comments?
No.
Starting off with all in favor, Joe Orb,
Yes.
Mike Reagan,
Yay.
Caleb McNally,
Yay.
Beth Weimer,
Yay.
Mark Lacy,
Yes.
Jamie Sowers,
Yes.
and Greg McCurdy. That motion goes 7-0. Thank you kindly. All right, correspondence from the public. Floor is yours, sir.
I do have one correspondence I received by email as we communicated out to folks. I will just put this up here and let you give that a read. Greg, I'll let me know when you're done with it.
Has everybody had the opportunity to read correspondence?
Yes.
Give me just a second, please.
Not a problem.
I'm done.
Everybody else
Yeah.
had a chance to finish?
Yeah, I'm done reading it. Thank you.
All right. Well, I believe Angie 2A would be the proper motion for a executive session at this time, wouldn't it?
Greg, do you have that motion in front of you? I think you might need to read that clearly.
No, I don't. That's all I was asking Angie. I believe it's 2A. It's for executive session for the discussion of items pertaining to students.
That is correct. And it would be maybe not 2A, it would be 2B.
Could you read that out loud, Angie?
Yes, it is to discuss confidential student information pursuant to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma.
Motion so made by Greg McCurdy.
I second that motion, Mike Reagan.
For how long?
15 minutes, please. Board and administrators. All right, any other questions? All in favor? Joe,
Sorry, I was muted. Yes. Joe says yes.
Mike Reagan,
Yes.
Caleb McNally,
Yes.
Beth Weimer,
Yes.
Mark Lacey,
Yes.
Jamie Sowers,
Yes.
and Greg McCurdy votes yes. That's 7-0. We'll start the executive session as soon as the superintendent gets us all invited into it.
Greg, you said what, 15 minutes? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I do think we need to make sure that we assign a time that we would be back out. And then according to that, it would be 7:31.
Well, we can go with 14 minutes in if you can get it done, and we'll come back at 7:30.
Sounds good. I'll go ahead and assign.
Thank you, sir.
Greg, I think we're all back.
Oh, looks like we're missing one. We're at 10, aren't we? Shouldn't we be at 11?
Looks like I think Jamie's not back in yet.
Yeah, you're right. There we go.
All right, looks like everybody has returned to the main meetings. We'll call the meeting back to open session. And just so everybody knows what Superintendent and I found out from KASB and KSDE, the seniors will be given a chance to get together through Zoom with the help of Ben Gordon, our principal, and they will have the opportunity to vote and decide on what will happen with the monies that they earn through their class projects to go towards their senior trip. Any other questions on that? All right, we'll move right on to financial reports.
All right, checks for payment listing. You can see here this first listing here, our usual Blue Cross Blue Shield, CenturyLink, Constellation. Jumping over to our other sheet, got some grad items there, Blue Stem Building Supplies, obviously our regular monthly stuff. Really, honestly, most of our checks this month, being that we were late in our meeting than usual in March. And then obviously we had our meeting here fairly early in April. There's a number of our checks that haven't come through just as of yet. So for instance, our Amazon payments kind of not on here. Our credit card payments not on here just as of yet. So there are a few other items on there. We had to pay our Harris School Solutions. That's our accounting program there. You saw the flow through there with the rec commission. Our gas numbers, obviously, those are kind of left over from the other months. That's kind of getting to a lower number. Usually that's pretty higher with Jones. We had pest control come through and do their annual stuff. Well, obviously our cleaning supplies have gone up. That's that info there from Purizone. That is going to last us quite a while, obviously. We had copy paper. That purchase probably will last us into next year. Waste management cost. We had some sports connection. We had softball items that we purchased. And then a couple of different reimbursements there. So going into the cash summary report, you see general fund, we're sitting at 33,000. Supplemental, we've got 169. And then our other items pretty much are rather the same. So
This is Mark Lacey. I move to approve the bills and financial statements as presented.
This is Jamie Sowers. I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments, concerns? All right, we'll start off with those in favor. Joe Arb,
Yay.
Mike Reagan,
Yay.
Caleb McNally,
Yay.
Beth Weimer,
Yay.
Mark Lacey,
Yay.
Jamie Sowers,
Yay.
and Greg McCurdy. Yay. Also, that vote goes 7-0. All right, we'll go on to our continuous learning plan.
all right, in your folders in your app, shared drive there, we've got the waiver application packet that KSDE put out. Obviously, we have kind of taken off with our continuous learning plan starting last week. We are in week 2 of that. There are a number of items with KSDE that we needed to kind of go through and document. We had to waive attendance requirements. So again, who closed our schools? How many hours were we open? How many are we short? We had to list all of that out. We had to make sure that we completed our assurances document with KSDE. As you'll notice, we assure that we will develop a continuous learning plan, being that we are waiving the minimum required hours, that we're paying all current hourly employees, that we're going to send this document to the Kansas State Department of Education, that we will continue to enroll all new students, and that apply a health and safety policy limiting opportunity for students, staff, and families to be exposed to potential pathogens that could lead to illness. So yes, we are carrying those things out. In fact, last month we did talk about paying hourly employees their expected wage. So had all that taken care of. So a number of the things that are within this application we went through. We kind of did a brief description of our continuous learning plan. We wrote down information ensuring that learning is available for every student. Needed to include whether or not online learning would be used. Yes. And then what tech support is available, our technology director and or our building principals, superintendent. How will you ensure that all students have adequate access? Again, that we can't get all students to have adequate access, but we do make, I guess, make some accommodations whenever we have students who don't have internet access or appropriate internet access. Went through, I described what our SPED staff is doing so that we can continue to support students with disabilities. Wrote down the specifics on how our teachers are checking in with students. Described plans for CTE pathways. They did have a question here about how do you plan to address graduation for seniors. In that, they're asking about one of the things that KSD and or KSB put out is that they wanted school boards to reduce graduation requirements to 21 credits. Ours is 24. Right now, our seniors are not, none of our seniors are at risk of not graduating. So I did not find it completely necessary to ask you to reduce our graduation hours, even in the face of this whole situation being that we foreseeably are going to have all seniors graduate. If there are situations that kind of occurred during the last 9 weeks, we're going to take strenuous steps to ensure that we do get those students graduated on time. For the social emotional supports, we've got our social worker kind of going through, continuing those check-ins with the families and the students that she's been working with before. She's also putting stuff online so that people can access it. So she is continuing to engage those families, caregivers, whoever it may be, that are working with those kids. We are keeping families informed, not only through the website, the app, Messenger. We're doing student emailings. We're doing Google Classroom. We're doing phone contact. Our principals, administrative assistants have all communicated. When we did our little check with everybody on whether or not they had internet access or appropriate internet access, all that contact was made via phone. So there was a lot of good contact occurring and will still continue to occur. They asked for how we're going to monitor and evaluate. We are keeping communication logs. We are supervising Google Classroom usage. We're observing that resource completion. We're doing grade checks. There's staff video conferences weekly, maintaining that open line of communication. Again, I hope you saw all of those posts identifying who our, academic advisor, our counselor, our social worker, our tech person, who is it that they need to be contacting and how they can contact those folks. So all of that was kind of distributed. So again, all sorts of resources that are available and identified here in this document. Any questions that you might have? Being that we did talk most of this out during the March meeting.
How many hours did we come up short, Joe?
I want to say it listed 266.
That's what I was thinking it read, but it went by so fast I wasn't sure.
Apologize about that.
That's all right.
I have a question. Are we keeping grades for students?
Grades are continuing to be kept. The idea with that is that we want students to still stay engaged, but at the same time, we are being mindful of what our current situation is. Just as much as everyone has understanding with our staff about the new things that they're having to deal with, we're wanting to do the same thing with our students, but we are asking that they do put forth some effort to learn, and we're going to do everything that we can to support them during this time. Critical standards are the ones that are being identified, and those are the ones that are being focused on within classes. And I guess when I say grades, we're mainly talking about the secondary building. At the elementary level, I think that that's probably a little bit more gray, but definitely at the secondary building, those grades are still being kept in some measure.
Joe, this is Joe here. I suppose it goes without saying that if you guys were hearing of anybody that was having any trouble with their post-secondary plans on account of all this, you'd let us know, I suppose, right? I mean,
when you mean by post-secondary, you're talking about going on to college?
Yeah.
Emily has been on top of that right from the get-go. She's been making sure that everyone's aware of what they need to do and how they need to do it. I do know that she's, I believe, directly contacting those folks in some measure. I know that she's also emailing out indirectly to those people as well. But no, we're not going to, I guess, let up at this moment, being that this is kind of that time where we need to get all of our ducks in a row and make sure that everything's set and ready to go.
Thanks.
Are you needing a motion on this, Joe?
Yes, sir. I do need it approved. And when we do, I do have a signature from you, Greg. And so I have digitally attached it to this document, assuming that we do approve it tonight.
Yeah, this is Joe again. Joe Arb, I make a motion to approve the continuous learning plan as presented.
This is
This
Jamie.
is Beth Weimer.
Go ahead, Beth.
This is Beth. I'll make a motion to second.
Motion is second. Any other questions or comments? All right, we'll start off with the ayes again. If we're in favor, Joe Arb,
Yay.
Mike Reagan,
Yay.
Caleb McNally,
Yay.
Beth Warren,
Yay.
Mark Lacey, Jamie
Yay.
Sowers.
Yay.
All right, Mark was a little late finding us back in there, man. Greg McCurdy also goes yay, so that votes 7-0 in favor of. All right. Security grant.
Part of our funding that we received money from the legislature, who appropriated money to give to schools for the school security grant. And we needed to identify what that project was going to be. After working with the building principals, kind of talking with maintenance, there's a lot of things that we could do in regards to our school safety. But in reality, a number of the things that we are looking at would be very costly. And so the amount that we get from the legislature is approximately, I want to say, just over $3,000. And so we have to match that. So our total there would be obviously about $7,500 total for that project. Being that we haven't really identified anything outgoing that we want to shore up in regards to school security, it kind of made sense for us to look in the direction of, well, how can we kind of start to rein in the openness that we have at our Melbourne campus? And so I got a quote put together from Sound Products, who is our, they've done a number of things for our district in regards to like cameras. They did our panic button at the district office. And so I had him put together some information on how we can do key cards at our buildings. And so this first, I guess this quote that I have here is the first step in attempting to get the buildings at Melbourne on a key card access system. It would install the hardware components that would allow us to expand to all doors, but we would only be implementing this on the 2 doors that go into the gym initially. And so again, the aim is that we're attempting to kind of rein in who has access and when to our buildings, and that key card is a really good way to track who has that access, when it gets used, and how often it gets used. So in front of you, you have that quote, again, talking about a controller appliance, a couple different controller appliances, power supply, things of that nature. And then the 2 readers, along with, you can see the money there down below for the key card packs that would last us for at least quite a while. So that total there is, where was it? Why am I missing it? Oh, the total there would be $87.80. And again, that would represent obviously the amount that we received from KSDE, and then our matching amount and just a little bit more. I didn't want to spend, I guess, more than what our match was, or at least go significantly over. And we didn't really go significantly over there, but those appliances are not cheap. So the next time we come around and we look to do this, we're not going to have the expense of the appliances. Now it's just going to be powering the doors and putting in the readers. So we're going to get a lot more done than just 2 doors the next time around.
Joe, that 50 pack of cards, is that all we need for all the students, or how's that distributed?
That would be for the staff. Now, I don't know that we have a good way to do a time system so that we can unlock doors in between hours. However, this controller appliance would give us the feasibility to program that and implement that at some point. Being that we don't have those types of locks on all doors, we haven't included that in this quote just as of yet.
What
Which
was
2
that number
doors are
again,
you
Joe?
actually?
Go ahead, Greg.
Which 2 doors were you actually putting a control on?
Looking to put the key card entry into the gym. So that'll be the door that faces the south and the door that faces the north in the gym. So from the football field and from the parking lot.
Okay.
This may be obvious, Joe. Joe here. Is it going to replace all other keys into the gym, or are they just going to use a key that they already have and go through one of the doors from the cafeteria?
Eventually, we would have keypads on every door. We would then have to go through a process of either pulling in all hard keys or having the locks changed so we can ensure that we don't have any rogue keys out. And then that way we can actually track who's using what, when, and where.
We're gonna do this. Why? Is it not smart to go ahead and do it for the main building and the cafeteria as well? And all of the Melbourne campus?
We will, but that's going to be, if I had a quote for that, we would probably be talking somewhere in the $20,000, $25,000 range rather than $8,000 right now. So I'm doing it kind of in a piecemeal way. But that being that that isn't a focus for us right here and now, we're going to get that money in the coming years. I don't see that this is something that's going to go away. And we'll continue to utilize that and flesh out the remainder of those doors.
Is it going to cost more to add them on later? In other words, if we did it all now, you know, if it costs 20,000 now, is it going to cost more than 12,000 if we do it the other doors in the future? Do you know?
I don't anticipate that. That was a question that I asked Monty, the owner of the company. That's why we went with that. And I'm going to say it wrong. The Avlagon or Avgilon or whatever they call it, controller appliance. We chose that because that is the top of the line controller appliance and isn't going to become obsolete before we get done doing all of the doors.
So do you need a motion to proceed or?
Yes, being that this is over the $5,000 limit, I do need a motion.
So Joe, you're obviously making the recommendation that we move forward with this. Otherwise this isn't just a, hey, we're thinking about it, throwing it out here for discussion. You feel pretty confident this is the thing to do, or?
Yes, I do feel confident that this is the thing to do.
My knee jerks also that it seems it's kind of like if you're going to take this step, seems like you do it all at once and people will get rid of all the keys and there's kind of one process, but I don't have strong feelings about it either. So I can sure support it if that's what you and the board thinks the best thing to do. So
I guess my feedback on that is that we didn't, I guess, schedule out this within our capital outlay. And so I didn't want to begin spending those dollars just yet. I mean, we might be turning around in the fall implementing the rest of it because we get that payment in July. So it's not like we're going to have to take time to figure out what we're going to do with that money.
So we have to spend money for them to match it.
Yes, they've provided us that money and we have to match it. Otherwise, when we do our audit, they will know that we did not utilize funds for that, either in our general supplemental or out of capital. They went through that specifically in our audit for this year.
And I'm Joe again here. I'm sorry. It's for the grant is for safety or security or both, or what's the parameters here?
Yes, safety and security of schools. And it has to be a physical item.
But does the ADA at the ball field?
It does not qualify. It does not.
I know the agenda item here is the sound system, or I'm sorry, the security system. But on the topic of the safety and security and the grant, I would still love to see some at a minimum paint or something to improve the safety between the little gym and the big gym, you know, where the kids run back and forth. and we have cars pulling through, always makes me nervous. Maybe it's because I got the kids that don't listen worth a darn, but just we can talk about it at a future meeting. But if maybe you and or Ben could think on that one a little bit. Let me know what you think. That's all I got on the security deal here.
Sure. Yeah, we can definitely talk about that.
I guess it's my opinion that, you know, if it is 20,000, and I know we don't know, but if it is 20,000 for the whole thing, it doesn't seem like you're getting a whole lot for 8. And if you could get the whole thing for 12 more, that's what makes sense to me. But I'll do whatever you guys. I mean, I don't have a big feeling either way. I just thinking out loud here. It seems like, you know,
Mark,
it doesn't feel like we're getting a whole lot for $8,000.
it seems like one option could be to discuss it as part of the larger capital outlay with the whole switchover. But again, I don't feel that strongly about it.
Right, but we have to spend this money and we can, I feel like, allocate the additional money for the rest of the key to do the rest of the building if we want, but we have to spend this money or they're not going to match it, correct?
Correct. We would have to return that money in our next audit.
Right.
I probably missed that. When do you got to spend it by?
By the end of this fiscal year.
So we can go ahead and do the rest of the building if we want, but at least this part would, you know, we could use what money they've allocated so they'll match it, you know?
You wouldn't be able to do the rest of the building until after the first of the fiscal year for the rest of the capital outlay.
Unless we have money sitting somewhere else, yes, we would just be waiting until after the first of the fiscal year.
Gotcha.
Which really, in the scheme of things, isn't very long.
No, it is not. Again, we could have the rest of the building potentially installed before we even begin school in August, if that's how fast we want to track it.
That being said, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
This is Mike Reagan. I make a motion, we approve it.
Caleb McNally seconds.
Motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? All right, we'll start off with the people that approve it to start with. Joe Orb,
Yay.
Mike Reagan,
Yay.
Caleb McNally,
Yay.
Beth Weimer,
Yay.
Mark Lacy,
Yay.
Jamie Sowers,
Yay.
and Greg McCurdy, yay. Also, that motion goes 7-0. Thank you all very kindly. All right, now we'll move on to our capital outlay plan.
All right, included in your document, your Google Drive was kind of what I'm proposing that we look at for the capital outlay plan next fiscal year. So I guess let me zoom in here real quick and make it a little bit clearer, even though it's not incredibly clear. As you can see, our capital outlay plan this year, we purchased volleyball standards. We performed our basement repair. We did replace those bleachers. They are now installed and ready to go. We did our bleacher concrete, and we are awaiting the exterior paint being performed on our gym shop cafeteria. Just as a side note, I am in contact with the painters, and they have still indicated that they are planning to come. The timing may be just a bit different considering the issues that have occurred, but they have not said that they're not going to come. They just haven't identified exactly what date they're going to be able to make it. But they have not sent up any red flags saying that they aren't going to be able to fulfill it within the next month or so. So that's where we are for this year. You can see the monies that have been expended year to date, 94,977. So the rest of it was kind of what we had predicted when it came to our capital outlay plan. During the course of the year, we did kick out that bathroom remodel because of the price tag, I guess, that came back that we received from the architects. That did seem to be quite expensive. We did find out that the main gym bleachers were probably going to be too expensive for this year. And so that was something that we pushed. And I want to say the foundation repair was somewhere in here, and I don't remember originally where that was. But again, that is something that kind of was still remaining. So looking into next year, what I'd like to propose for your consideration is that we look at doing the elementary, junior high, and high school basketball goals, specifically in the main gym, replacing the side goals, make them adjustable. In the little gym, replacing those goals and making those adjustable, and then replacing the goals at the building in Quinamo and making those adjustable as well. Also asking that we consider doing some interior upgrades. I've kind of put a $20,000 price tag on that, as I'm not entirely sure what that's going to be. We could go back in and do the bathrooms kind of in a piecemeal sort of way. I do believe we can get that done and get it done the way that we want it to get done with that type of a price tag. We could also choose to go through, I know the flooring at the high school definitely needs to be replaced. It is starting to show its wear. The walls, the finish that's on the walls, I do think that's starting to show a bit of age. I do think that we need to consider at some point doing an upgrade there, just as we did in the high school office. That ended up turning out really well, and I think that we can do that on a smaller budget than what we would be looking at when it came to a construction crew or an architect coming in and doing those types of things. So I do want us to look at some interior upgrades at the junior high, high school. I have placed the football press box on there, being that there wasn't a great other place to put it. It's kind of a smaller amount in the grand scheme of things. And it kind of filled out our numbers and would match kind of the other efforts that we've done this year to that field. I do have the elementary foundation repair, being that we probably need to finish that in due time.
Joe, this is Mike Reagan. Is that elementary foundation the gymnasium and the building to the west, or is it just the gymnasium?
It would be just the gymnasium. That number represents not only, again, the zero cost to us when it comes to fixing what they had already done, but that $45,000 is to shore up the remainder of the building, which is why we're having the sinking now, is that they didn't put piers in the under the entire building. They only did it in that corner, and so that corner has failed, and we need to go in and have that warranty work done, and then in order to I guess justifiably do that warranty work, we need to do the rest of the building there at the gym, and so that would be representing the $45,000.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And then just because we've talked about this, and this does seem to be a focus for the board, I wanted to make sure that I included the number for the ball field ADA upgrades. This would include concrete work done to the handicap parking zone. This would include concrete work for a sidewalk / ramp down to the main field. They would put a pad behind home plate and toward each dugout, setting up kind of obviously a spectator area. It would also include a moderately wide sidewalk that would lead down to the softball field. And then the softball field would have the same spectator pad put behind home plate and towards each dugout. And so that 23,873 represents that project. So that's what I'm kind of proposing in there. You'll see down below the elementary gym refresh. I am looking at, being that we would be prospectively playing a tournament basketball game down at Quinamo next year. It would be great if we had our school colors in the building. And so that is a project that we would be looking at for this next fiscal year. We would be doing it over the summer. I don't have a specific number attached to it. It might be just something that kind of gets included in the end on the capital outlay funds, but that is something that would also be going into that fund. So that yearly total right there for 2020, 2021 would be 127,990. As you'll see going in the years to come, I've tried to kind of even out potentially what those costs would look like. And we're landing about $90,000. You can see in 2023-24, it's a little less than that. But basically, if we foreseeably stay at our approximately six mills, it might be a little over, our mill levy, the way that it stands now, we would be netting just over $100,000. I want to say we were close to like 117, I think is what it was. Anyway, long story short, all of these projects as they are listed, we would be able to afford with what we were pulling in with our mill levy. One thing you will notice is a bit of a change. Obviously in 21, 22, these things aren't new. We do need to buy out our bus lease. And I kind of threw in a kitchen remodel down at the elementary building. It is starting to show some age. I do kind of have some exterior issues at the elementary that I'd like to take care of in regards to whether it's parking blocks, some other items. There's a number of things there at the elementary that we need to shore up. In 22, 23, there is a difference that we haven't talked about before. In the past, we had listed the air pump system potentially replacing our boilers. I've kind of gone back and forth on that, just with that expensive price tag on it. I guess I kind of just went back to the idea that I don't know that there's really a whole lot of complaints about how warm the building is during the winter. I mean, when it's not on, we sure definitely notice it, but there's not a whole lot of like quality issues that we're running into. And the system seems to be working fairly decently. I do need to check out how our pipe system is looking, but I guess I'm looking in 2022, 2023 to do a boiler replacement at either building potentially, or that $90,000 could potentially represent both. That was a number that was floated for a boiler replacement for 2 boilers at Russell. So I kind of got a gauge on that, and that going with, the gentleman who came and talked about our heating systems. That was what he had kind of slated a boiler system to cost potentially. So I placed that there in 2022, 2023, being that we do have an elementary boiler that is quite old. But to be honest, the one at the secondary building in Melbourne is not showing very good age either. So I do think that we should probably be looking at some sort of replacement so we can have something good. We did have to spend at least a chunk of money in maintaining those this winter, things that we wouldn't have to do if we had a new boiler. The new bus isn't anything new. I don't think the placement's any different from in 23, 24. We do need to purchase a new bus because we are going to have one of our shuttle buses age out. We can't use any longer. And then fortunately, I couldn't find a good place for our main gym bleachers, being that they had that $90,000 price tag with them. And I know that we had some concerns about accessibility and having rails and things of that nature. I do have a potential solution that we can do in the meantime. We don't have to wait for 24, 25 to implement. And I think that we would be pleased with those results. So that's kind of where that capital outlay plan is looking. And obviously we can talk about the years to come, but I guess the focus here that I'd like us to really to consider here tonight is the plan for next year. Are those the items we need to be looking at? Are those the things that we need to make sure that we're putting in? Is there something that I'm missing? Do we need to move things around? Things remaining kind of on the list, you can see there. These intermittent projects, again, I talked about the gym refresh at the elementary, the exterior issues there, some locker room refresh things that aren't going to cost a ton of money, doing some track and field upgrades. Again, that's going to be concrete work, and that is looking to be rather, I guess, inexpensive in the grand scheme of things. We have that, we've got some baseball fencing issues. We already did put in the softball field fencing, and we have done the surface upgrades. So those funds have already been spent and those projects have already been taken care of. In this in discussion line, those are items that we really haven't pulled out yet and put on something that we want to do. These right now are more, I guess, luxuries, or we've thought of them as luxuries rather than needs. So, but those still are items that we've kind of identified that we could use for our capital outlay funds.
Joe, on that first year on the elementary gym refresh, are you including a new scoreboard?
You know, I haven't necessarily considered that, but being that I did get that number, and I apologize, that number escapes me, but it didn't frighten me with the price. So I think that that's something that we can roll into that project.
Joe, you mentioned the gym bleachers moving out to the future here, which, you know, personally, I think I'm okay with. I think what you were addressing there, you said we can address accessibility. The rails are wobbly and unsafe. You're saying we can go ahead and fix that now, though, right?
Yes, I would need to go back and look at the exact number that he gave me, but the gentleman who did our bleachers at the football field has a way for us to go in and retroactively put in ADA compliant railings and spaces. We would need to remove 2 bleachers on each row to make the row wider, but we would be installing a, I guess, a compliant railing system on each stairway on our bleachers. So for the 4 stairways, I think we could probably get that done, I guess, in good order.
Okay. If it's not even raising to the level of needs to be on this list, it sounds like, huh? Which is good.
No. Again, I think the least amount that we have on there is that kitchen remodel, 20 grand. And I think even on that kitchen remodel, that's probably being very generous, but I don't think we would be approaching that number.
Thanks. What about the press box? Pretty precise number there with 21,050. Presumably you got a bid or something.
Yeah, I did. That was from some post frame people over in Richmond. They gave me a price, came over, looked at it. It was for a metal sided building. But that number is probably for a direct replacement. We would need to extend it a little bit, so that number would go up just a little bit, but I don't think that would be too much.
Is the sound system included in that now? I noticed it got took off this year from.
That's a good question. I have basically, considering the sound system that we have there now, if we were to put in a new press box, we could just take the speakers and the system out and then place it on the new building. We would want to add one more speaker, but in reality, I felt like it worked really well last fall, and I didn't really hear any complaints about not being able to hear. And looking at the price tag when it came to that sound system, I felt like that was a little over the top. So I mean, you guys can tell me different, but I did kind of take that out of the consideration, being that we made those changes and they seem to work really well.
So what year are you planning on trying to do the bathroom remodels at the high school?
Again, that can be part of what we do in that interior upgrades listed on 2021.
So you go from a bid of 100K to 20 grand?
I did, because I felt like they were, again, I guess I went into it thinking that it's going to be done the right way with architects, but I guess I also found out that that carries a significant price tag with it. And I felt like we could do some independent contract work to get the same result.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out, your difference in price.
Correct. So I guess my question is does our 2021 list look like what we want to focus on for next year?
Are you looking for a vote tonight, or is this just?
No, sir. I need some, I guess, feedback, because we need to start the process of getting all of this figured out. I need to start getting the actual quotes. I mean, that number's pretty solid, but I need to get pen to paper and some actual plans set in place. And then that way I can bring it to you for approval for this coming year. So I just want to make sure that the projects that I'm going to be heading up are the ones that we want to do. And then that way, when I bring bids back to you, like for instance, if I put that the football field press box out for bid, I don't want that to be a surprise to you.
So this might bring in.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Could you please make sure we get the ADA upgrades and the press box started as soon as possible? Those are the things that we've put off for a long while. It would have been nice to have some of that, like the press box, done before last football season. It'd be nice if it was done before this next coming one.
I can see what we can do. I don't know that the football field press box is going to has any direct hurdles that we need to overcome. The 88 upgrades is simply, we need to have our discussion and get that lease put together with the city. And so my focus will be on getting that taken care of, hopefully within the next month, hopefully in front of them so they can discuss it and consider it and approve it.
Thanks.
So Joe here. I suppose I need to be applying for some grants or shutting up about this, but I would still love to see the ball field work being paid for as part of a grant. It seemed like there was a potential opportunity there, and therefore we could save some money or move something up the list, but I could be wrong that's an option. But it's a high priority at the same time. So if there's major delays on account of this, which there could be, then I would probably take that recommendation back.
I'll take a look and see what's out there again and double check those things that we identified previously. I know we talked the Jones Park aspect. That is going to be on a quarter by quarter basis, I believe, when it comes to them meeting. I do already have an application in for consideration on computers for our district. And so I don't want to muddy the waters too much. And honestly, I think if I were to submit it now, I wouldn't be looking at a response until late summer. So we wouldn't even know if those Jones Park funds would be available. Obviously, there are others, and I'll double check what that timing looks like. But I do think that you're probably correct. The timing and how soon we want it done may not mesh.
And Joe, I'm correct in saying that that's going to be all the schools' money being spent down there. Is the rec going to chip any in? I can't remember where that discussion went.
I haven't really gone down that path, I guess. I know the rec already put up some funds for the matching funds for the surface upgrades. Obviously, representatives helped us with the fence installation. So, I mean, I haven't gone to them to ask them of this, but in all actuality, I mean, their budget is probably less than that figure every year. So I can't imagine that we're going to be asking them to put up too much. So being that we're looking to get this done sooner rather than later, I haven't really gone through those avenues yet.
Yeah, I understand. I just wondered whether whether we'd asked them or not. And
I'm good with everything. This is Jamie.
Yeah, I think it's going in the right direction.
Okay. Well, I'll move kind of forward with those plans and I'll bring those to you as I can get them. One last thing before we kind of wrap everything up. Is everyone okay with the idea that we investigate the boiler aspect rather than doing a brand new HVAC system at our buildings?
This is Mike Reagan. I'd rather see the boiler system than a new HVAC throughout.
Yeah, Joe here. I mean, if you're not having issues, then save the money,
I think that's the thing that just stuck out to me is that we just aren't getting the bang for the buck that a lot of places do with this, where they get a bunch of savings. But we expend a chunk of money every year when it comes to our energy, but our energy costs are not out the window. They are manageable. And what we would get out of an HVAC system might not net us a whole lot for what we're paying for. So. Mark, I think you were going to say something.
well, yeah, I didn't know if you were aware of it, but several years ago, we had an expert. At that time, the concern was the elementary one. And we had a guy come in and look at it pretty closely. I was over there when he did it and talked to him quite a bit. And I think more or less his comments were that when that boiler was made, they made them so much better than they do now, it would be foolish to replace it. And as far as he was concerned, it was in good working order. So I guess, make a long story short, we may not be as close to needing that as you might think.
Yeah, honestly, I might be coming to you and telling you that the high school needs to have theirs replaced before the one in Quinimo gets replaced. So,
isn't that the way you remember that discussion going, Twyla?
Yes, I would agree with that. And even anytime someone comes out to even work on it, they're like, hang on to this as long as you possibly can. So I would agree with that. As long as we can, even if it's a little bit of maintenance every year, they recommend we hang on to it.
So even with that, we might be going, we might be in 2021, 2022 and going, hey, we don't need to do a boiler replacement. Let's just go ahead and buy a bus for the next year and during the next year. So everything might move up a year. So I just want to make sure that we were kind of setting that aside as a potential. Greg, I turn it
This is
over to you.
Greg. I was just getting ready to make sure nobody had any other questions for you on this one. All right, if not, we'll turn the floor over to Jamie Sires for her Three Lakes report.
Well, we haven't had our meeting yet this month. It's next week, but feel like I know that teachers and related service staff have been working to try to make sure they're doing their part of the continuous learning plans for all of our kiddos in the co-op. So we'll have our meeting next week. So I don't really know anything yet.
Anything to add from the superintendent side, Joe?
No, the superintendents are meeting weekly, just kind of making sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to our learning plans. We are going to continue to do that for the foreseeable future, just so that we can work everything out and make sure everything's kind of on the up and up. So it's gone really well. I'll be honest, the support from that group within Three Lakes and the superintendents associated with it has been very beneficial, and I couldn't imagine not going through this whole scenario without them. So I'm glad that we're continuing to meet, and we'll definitely make sure that we are taking care of our kids' needs when it comes to that aspect.
I'm very happy to hear that. I will pass it along.
All right, any other questions for Jamie or Joe on the Three Lakes? If not, we'll move on and let the administrators talk a little bit.
Twyla, I think I have you up first.
Okay. So to start with, our continuous learning plan is off to a great start. I appreciate all the support from everyone as we begin this new journey. The staff has done a great job of setting that up and establishing a new lesson plan. And the parents and community members have also been very positive and appreciative of everything we're offering to our students. I took a poll as I called parents and to kind of see who had the internet access. We're trying to provide both services via a packet of learning or via internet. Lunches, we're averaging 40 a day. Special thanks to all who are helping with that. Our summer programs, of course, are on hold, but we will submit our application for our funding. It just may look a little bit different than we've done before, and maybe something that we're able to provide for our families as opposed to having the program on site. Want to congratulate Mrs. Boyer, our second grade teacher, on her new arrival of a baby girl. And also prayers go out to our evening custodian, Ken Jennings. His wife passed away battling cancer for the past 5 years. And we appreciate all the volunteer work that she has done at our school. I've been busy, obviously, with keeping up with different meetings and schedules. I know some people think that just because school is closed, it really means the building is closed, but everyone's continuing to work, and there's a lot behind the scenes. So thanks to everyone for their support throughout that. Kind of finishing with that, hope and kindness have not been canceled. And I think we need to remember that as we go through this. We all have a new journey that we are on, and we'll all get through this together. Special thanks to Mr. Sample and the USD 456 board members for their leadership and support on this new journey.
Twyla, has the new beamed internet been of any assistance to the families in Quinemo as of yet?
I wouldn't say as of yet, but our percentage of families that have internet currently is pretty good, actually. And so we're going to provide another mailing to those that do not have internet, just to make sure that they are meeting those requirements. So as of now, I would say it is the same.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Twyla? All right, we'll move on to Ben then and let him have the floor for a while.
All right, thank you, Greg. Kind of to go over a few things that are similar to what Ms. Wallenberg said. For our continuous learning plan, our first week's kind of in the bag. We're on week 2 right now. Teachers have been working on their own individualized classes. All classes are on Google Classroom and feature a mixture of various assignments, whether they're typed, instructional videos. Some are doing Zoom meetings, and then Q&A sections. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, but the only thing I asked my teachers that I wanted them to do was everybody would be on Google Classroom, and that they would have some sort of a recorded video of them doing the majority of their teaching. They wanted to use resources from, this website or this online group or whatever. That was fine, but I wanted them to be teaching their classes to the kids for the most part, and I would like the video of them physically doing so, at least every now and then. Staff, they came in that first week and worked in their classrooms, kind of setting everything up. I went around and kind of helped them go through on Google Classroom and get set up on that, and Screencast-O-Matic and a couple other programs, but they are now working exclusively from home. Nobody is coming back into the building at all as of now. All staff is still required to have office hours during the regular contact time of the day. So they will be, I guess, keeping up with emails and questions and stuff as they come up. I've asked them to be as available as possible. And they've really been doing a pretty good job working with our kids so far. I've been very pleased with what they've done. Mrs. Sumner and Mrs. McCullough have been consistently putting out information on social media and emails and answering questions and individual things to students on a daily basis. I also asked those two ladies to create a class on Google Classroom to help accommodate the kids, and I've been very impressed with these ladies' support of our teachers and students. They have done a fantastic job. To get started, all of our students have been handed out a device, and it's the same one as they used at school, along with all their locker belongings at the same time as our pickup windows. We did it in the same format that we did lunches also. We had all but a couple students that did have some type of internet access. We made phone calls also. Mostly Leanne Thomas did that and went through and kind of took surveys. We've been fortunate. Most everybody's been able to tether off of a cell phone or something if they didn't have legitimate Wi-Fi. And I've only had 1 or 2 that haven't. And I'm still trying to wade through what that'll look like with them with packets. But I've been in constant contact with them as best as possible to get the ball rolling. Big thank you to the office staff, along with Kim Dayhoff and Mary Sumner for kind of helping get the computers ready, and then Lori for going through and bagging up all the items. They really did a good job of getting everything ready, and it was very smooth pickup, went well. Families so far have done a really good job working with us, and I've had comments made that the whole district in its entirety has been doing a fabulous job with communication and working together to help take care of our kiddos and help take care of the families to support our kiddos. So I've been very pleased with hearing those conversations. My role in the continuous learning plan, let's see, Joe, can you arrow down a little bit so I can, there you go, I appreciate it. I don't have my copy right in front of me. I have been added as a co-instructor for all the classes at the junior high and high school. I check assignments kind of in the mornings, make sure everything's up and running, and then usually been going into lunch after that, but we're only doing lunch every other day now, or excuse me, it's only Mondays and Thursdays. So that's been the majority of my work time in front of the computer. Most of the afternoons I've been going around and trying to reach out to parents that have been difficult to get in touch with. I've made a lot of drop by, knocking on doors type of deals, which I'm going to probably start limiting those as much as possible, but those have been pretty successful. We have weekly staff meetings via Zoom with the junior high and high school on Friday afternoons. I've also been making individual phone calls once a week to check on the staff, though they've all done pretty well and handled it pretty well up to this point, considering. I've been very pleased with the way that they've been coming up with relative content to finish the school year out. Admin meets once a week via Zoom. We do on Tuesdays. I'll also start attending LCL meetings on Zoom until further notice. We have one coming up next week. I'm assuming we probably will in May too, but that's TBD. Our lunch pickup, we've had anywhere from 35 to 50 is the usual norm. So probably about similar to what Miss Wallenberg's had over in Quinemo, about the same numbers. Pickup lines work well so far. Shout out to Helen. She's done a great job of getting everything ready to go. I will be the only person that's serving from here on out to help minimize exposure. We're serving hot lunches on the day of pickup, and then supplies to feed the kids for breakfast and lunch on the days in between. We're kind of boxing it up in bulk lunch meat and sandwich items and Pop-Tarts and things like that. Mrs. Reeser has been helping pass out back snacks up till now, but we did run out, and Harvesters will not be delivering for the rest of the school year. So we've given out everything that we can give out. And so I feel pretty good about that. Is there anything else that I have listed here, Joe? No, that's pretty much it. So, but really above all, been very pleased with my staff. I feel like they've done a very good job of kind of taking this and running with it. You know, we'll continue to tweak some things, and there's been some growing pains, but overall I feel like it's gone pretty well. So again, a thank you to Joe for kind of helping us get going with all of this. And thank you to my staff for taking it and doing what they need to with it. So that's about all I have. Any questions I can answer?
It sounds like everybody's pretty happy with that you're saying. They don't want to complain any at this time.
I guess we'll find out in the future.
Yeah, I reckon. All right, Joe, back to you, sir, for the floor.
I just kind of wanted to echo a number of the talking points that the principals had. I really appreciate everything that they are doing in response to this, new normal. I really appreciate the staff coming through. We've got, our certified staff learning things brand new in some cases, and we're just in really uncharted territory. But I've been very pleased. Again, they've gone through, they've filled out district-wide curriculum maps. They are going to be completing communication logs with parents and students. They're going to be maintaining that contact. We have a plan in place. I feel very good about what they're going to be doing and how they're going to be doing it. I'm very pleased with the response that we've gotten so far with the lunches and breakfast service. I think that the move to Monday, Thursday, hopefully is a little bit more welcomed, being that they won't have to arrive daily to receive food. I think that works best for both parties. It minimizes our exposure, it minimizes their exposure, but also it just allows them to not have to take an extra trip out, which is always kind of a hassle when you're bringing kids in. So I want to thank our classified staff that have been a part of that process. Our secretaries in the building have been doing a great job communicating with people. I know that our maintenance staff obviously have been doing a wonderful job in cleaning up every day and making sure that everything's disinfected and that we're keeping that exposure risk to a minimum. I know that, especially our maintenance, our bus, and our para staff are all really honestly chomping at the bit to do something to help. And we're going to probably be looking at, at some point, needing a lot of help with a number of these items. As you'll notice with the lunch programs in a number of areas, they have had cases occur in district with people who were either serving or making the food. I don't anticipate that to be an issue, but if it does, we're going to have to potentially call up some of those other classified staff members and say, hey, we need some help with this, and would you be willing to help us out? So I know that, again, that they're chomping at the bit, and I appreciate that from them. But we're not through this yet, and their role is going to be potentially ever changing. So again, it's been incredibly different, and I appreciate the board's understanding and getting all this figured out. And I appreciate kind of all the work that everyone's done. It's, I guess, surprisingly has gone off almost without a hitch. We really haven't had a giant thing pop up at us that we were just scratching our heads and something that blew up in our face, whatever it may be. So if we're going to dive into the deep end, we're at least treading that water pretty well. So I look forward to obviously being back in district with kids. I'm really looking forward to that day. And I think our staff is looking forward to that day too.
All righty, thank you, sir. Do we have any board comments?
Yeah, Greg,
I have a question.
This is Mark Lacey. I was just wondering if we had a game plan yet for graduation, or semblance of a game plan, or was it going to happen or not? There's a lot of people asking about it.
Yeah, I think right now the game plan would be we're kind of sitting on our hands and waiting. So, the governor has the school closure until May 29th. So we cannot expect to be in school until after that date. The statewide stay-at-home order, I think, either was till the 14th or 19th or something. She may extend that. Long story short, until those things kind of come back, we really can't do anything. I think our intention is to hold a graduation, assuming that those things are going to be less restrictive in the coming months. I don't know that I would put a date on it by any means. I do think that we're going to have to turn around and say, hey, once we get that go ahead, we might be looking at like a 2-week window ahead of time going, hey, we're going to have graduation, because we may not be able to foreseeably say that we're not going to be in this situation soon after either. So, so long story short, I think we're kind of sitting and waiting, but we do want to have that. And if it happens during the summer, I think that that's entirely fine. If it goes much longer than August, we're going to have a whole nother conversation. So we'll do what we need to do to make sure that we're doing right by those kids.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, so we'll move into the personnel section. How much time you think we'll need for that?
Probably at least 15. Do you want to make it 9 o'clock and call it even?
And that's kind of what I was looking at on my watch.
That would be great.
And I still don't have a fancy sheet Angie gave us, so if she could be kind enough to read off the words, I'll make the motion.
The 1A is go into executive session to discuss an individual employee's performance. pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under coma. And the open meeting will resume in the boardroom or virtual boardroom at 9 o'clock.
With board and administrators. Do I have a second?
Caleb McNally seconds
This
it.
is Beth. I'll second.
Caleb seconds. All right, Joe Orb,
Aye.
Mike Reagan,
Aye.
Caleb,
Aye.
Beth Weimer,
Aye.
Mark Lacey, Mark, how do you vote?
I don't see Mark on the list. He must have dropped out.
Yeah, I see we're down to 10. All right, we'll move on to Jamie.
Aye.
And Greg goes aye. That makes 6-0. All right, sir, whenever you're ready.
All right, I will open the room. You can join now. Did we get everybody back, Greg?
Yeah, my system timed out on me, so, but I'm back.
I think we're
Goes
sitting
10.
at 10.
Joe's back.
There we are.
There's our 11. There we go. So that personnel report is here in front of you. But again, we do need to add Kathy Coble resignation when we make this motion.
This is Mike Reagan. I move that we approve the personnel changes with the inclusion of Kathy Coble's resignation.
Caleb McNally seconds.
All right, a motion to second. Any other questions or comments? All right, all in the affirmative. Joe Orb,
Abstain.
Mike Reagan,
Yay.
Caleb McNally,
Yay.
Beth Weimer,
Yay.
Mark Lacy,
Yay.
Jamie Sowers,
Yay.
and Greg McCurdy. Yay also, so that goes 6-1. Anything else we need to go over on personnel, sir?
We do not.
All right, we'll move on into negotiations. And what are you looking at for that one?
Honestly, why don't we shoot for, let's go 9:15.
Angie, if you would be so kind.
That would be to discuss the latest proposal for increasing the base pay rate for the teachers pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations under COMA, and that the board would resume in the virtual boardroom at 9:15.
Motion so made.
Beth Weimer seconds.
Motion is second. All in favor. Joe Orb,
Aye.
Mike Reagan,
Aye.
Caleb McNally,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Mark Lacy,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
and Greg makes 7-0. We'll see you all back at 9:15. Whenever you're ready, sir. Looks like we're still short one member.
There we go.
Nope, might have been me. All right, according to my watch, I've got 15 after, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting back to open session. Anything else we need to cover in negotiations, sir?
We are set.
All right, I need one more motion.
It's Mike Reagan. I motion we adjourn this meeting.
Caleb McNally seconds.
Motion and a second. All in favor, Joe Orb,
Yes, sir.
Mike Reagan,
Aye.
Caleb,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Jamie.
Aye.
And Greg says aye. That's 7-0. Thank you all for joining us on our April 7th virtual meeting. Enjoy your weekend and stay safe.
Thanks a lot,
Y'all.
guys.
Good
Congratulations.
night, guys.
Night. Stay safe.
Your first
Y'all.
Zoom meeting is over.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Take care, y'all.
Stay
see.
safe and wash your hands.
Absolutely.